So yeah, that looks pretty clear. I'm going to play it. Rook takes knight, skewer, I get the rook, all good. Hey guys, we share some tactical situations that can happen when we play Jobava London. In this video we're going to train the middle game, typical tactics, patterns that can happen when we play Jobava London with white pieces. So basically it's a training to get better when we play that kind of lines. So if you're a Jobava London player, this is going to be a good video for you. Also, you should know that I have a tutorial about how to play Jobava London with opening ideas, middle game plans, masters games as example of a correct play in this kind of lines. I will link the video in a card so you can access to this interesting tutorial. That being said, let's get started. These are typical tactics in the middle game of Jobava London for white pieces. Okay, white to move in this position. So let's work with checks, captures, and threats. We can see that we have two very interesting bishops here and here, aiming for the castling. So check here is bishop takes a7, but that doesn't look like very tempting right now. That's the only check we can play. A capture here is bishop takes knight, and then we can get the pawn on b7, but again that doesn't look like we're getting much with that. Also we should understand that we have like 2 pawns down, so any simplification getting 1 pawn is not really getting much in a position like this. So basically those are the checks and captures we can play. Let's take a look at the threats. So I'm also looking at this queen here on a2, it's like trapped, so maybe there is something around the queen where we can threaten things about trapping that queen. So I'm looking, for example, at queen b4, that's an idea. The threat is rook a1, but also after queen b4 they can try something like a5, attacking our queen, and I'm looking at queen b5 then, because then my queen is not a target, he doesn't have a way to attack my queen. I'm still threatening rook a1 here. The question is, how does he escape from this? What can he do to release the queen in that position after queen b5? So queen b4, there's nothing, the queen cannot go back, right? So there's nothing better than a5, for example, and then we can play queen b5. And then the queen cannot move, and I'm threatening rook a1. Knight e4 is maybe a move, but well, there's a knight hanging at least. I'm not going to analyze that much more. So I think this is the right continuation. Queen b4 first, and then queen b5. And then I don't see how he's escaping from this. That's the right solution. Okay, white to move here. There's a threat here. Our knight is under attack. Checks, we don't have checks. Captures, we have this capture here. And threats, we do have some threats, right? I'm looking at this move knight b5. Let's keep in mind that the rook is unprotected here on the same file as our own rook. So this is like a discovered where we're attacking queen and we're attacking rook at the same time. So this looks very good. So knight b5, he can move the queen back, defending the rook on c8. But that doesn't solve the problem because we just take the rook. When he takes back, we can fork and get the queen. So basically knight b5 doesn't have a check. I mean, knight e4 is a check. So knight b5, knight e4, I have to capture. Then he double checks, but I capture. Yeah, I feel confident in that position. I don't think there's any problem. So yeah, knight b5 looks like the right move. Knight b5, pawn takes pawn check. We just capture, for example, with the queen. All good, right? Same idea, same threats. So I'm going to play it. The right move should be knight b5. Knight e4 is a move we already analyzed. So we just capture here, we said. And here we have to capture with the king. There is no choice. But this is still good enough. And I think this one is clear. So let's go to the next. Okay, white to move here. We don't have any check here. We do have some capture, like bishop takes pawn or queen takes queen. But they don't look very promising actually. So I'm looking at threats. I have the feeling that this is going to be a threat. So let's analyze, for example, queen g4. And then I'm threatening this. So he has basically 2 moves to prevent mate. He can play f6 or they can play g6. Those are the only 2 moves. So this is very interesting. So let's see. Queen g4. If g6, what happens? I can see that the dark squares are very weak. So I might try queen h4. Infiltrating my queen over here or over here. Right? So that looks very good. Queen g4, g6, queen here. and I don't see how he's stopping my threats, so I'm assuming that's the right answer. Queen g4, f6 is the other line, but well, at least I can capture here, but probably even better is going to be this move, rook c7, where I'm connecting the rook with the queen, with the threat on g7, so maybe rook f7, queen takes pawn. That looks like winning for white, so yeah, that should be the right line. So I'm going to play it, queen g4, and we are bettering all the lines. f6 here, yeah, we said rook c7, but I don't know, queen takes pawn, checking a shade. That should not be better than rook c7, right? Rook c7, rook f7, queen takes pawn, rook f8, and well, then we're going to play bishop d6 or something, attacking his rook. Yeah, so yeah, rook c7 is clearly better. Here we said queen e6, and yeah, that's winning. After rook f8, I could consider very seriously bishop d6 because I'm attacking here, and I think it's getting material for white. So one more time, I think this one is clear. Okay, well, it is white to move here. Let's work with checks. For example, rook c6 is a check, queen a8 is a check. So let's see, rook c6, pawn takes. There's nothing because I don't have pieces there to create good threats. Captures, there's rook takes knight. This one is interesting because if he takes with the rook, oh yeah, this is interesting. If he takes with the rook, I get the rook on e8. So rook takes knight. If he takes with the king, I have mate. Queen takes b7, it's basically checkmate. The pawn guards d6. So yeah, this is the right move. I mean, this is getting one piece. So yeah, that looks pretty clear. I'm going to play it. Rook takes knight, skewer, I get the rook, all good. Okay, white to move here, and we have a very strong attack, but we have a piece down. So let's take a look at this. Checks, I don't have any promising check here. Captures, we have bishop takes knight, we have knight takes pawn. So let me analyze this. Bishop takes knight, interesting move because the knight is a very important piece here for black. Is controlling key squares over here. It's a good defender, it's a good piece. So bishop takes knight is important. Also, you open the file, which might be decisive at some point. So let's analyze. Bishop takes, pawn takes, what can we play after that? Rook d1 is definitely a move, because if he moves the queen, for example, to c8, we can have checks. Also, if he moves the queen to e7, you can play rook d7. So bishop takes, pawn takes, rook here. Let's assume bishop d5, that's a way to defend. And then after bishop d5, I continue improving my pieces with f3, which is going to force opening the file, which might be decisive. So I'm going to try that knight. Bishop takes knight, rook d1, and they stop the puzzle there. Because we have a very strong attack with all these ideas that we were highlighting. Okay, white to move here, and I see that he's taking my knight on c3. I'm going to work with checks, which I don't have. So I'm going to go to work with captures, which I have here or here, and they are, I could say, clearly not working. So I'm going to work with threats then. And threats, I have some options. For example, this is a very tempting option here. Knight a4, because one more time his queen is like trapped over here. So knight a4 is a very interesting idea, but he can play queen a3 and he solved the problem for a moment. But then I can continue with queen a6, attacking this pawn for king, but more importantly, after queen a6, I'm threatening bishop c1 and the queen is trapped. We cannot go here, 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 or here. So yeah, the queen is trapped. So knight a4, only move is queen a3, queen a6. I'm taking this pawn with the fork, by the way. But also, I'm trapping his queen with bishop c1, which I don't see how to stop. It's not going to be easy to stop. I guess they can move the bishop back or something, but in any case, I can take on c6. So yeah, that should be the right line. I'm going to play knight a4, queen a6, and that's winning for white. Perfect. Okay, white to move. I see that we have a check here with a checkmate threat over there, but he's going to block. So this is a line, queen g4, queen g3, and then he blocks, and then I can take the knight on d3, or I can play a4, which is also looking very good, because I'm taking the knight, again, the bishop is pinned, but also if I take that bishop, my rook is going to be very good. I have the pawn here, so I can get also f6 for my knight. So that looks like a winning position. So queen g3, let's say, bishop g5, and then f4. Let's say they move the king, for example. I just take the bishop on g5, and let's say they move the knight. I have many options at that point. I can play rook f6, I can play knight f6, I can just play queen h4. So that looks like winning. So queen g3, bishop here, and then pawn here. I think that's more or less clear. So I'm going to play queen check and f4, and the attack is going to be decisive here. I mean, he saves the knight, but then we said we would capture here with the pawn, and then we have the rook, we have the knight, we have the pawn, and also we have the queen very active. So let's see, he plays knight e4. The main line here is knight f6. Also there is queen e5 threatening things over here, so probably that's even better, but queen e5 is taking here. So yeah, not queen e5. I need to play this check. Okay, so not this check. So what am I missing here? Queen h4, queen takes pawn. That's not oh, okay, so queen h4, queen takes pawn. I can play knight f6, because if he takes with the knight, he loses the queen. Interesting. So queen h4, queen takes pawn, knight f6, and if he moves the king, I have mate. So that should be the right line. I'm going to play it. Queen h4, he plays f5, I can capture en passant. I'm not going to think too much about that because that's clearly working, and that's how we win here. Interesting. Okay, white to move here, and we have a piece down. So the king and the rook in a very weird position over there. So let's see, the check here, queen takes pawn or queen e6 are the checks. The captures, queen takes knight, queen takes rook, queen takes pawn, nothing clear in the captures. And the threats, bishop c7, yeah, there's nothing clear here, right? Queen here, he moves, and then there's nothing. I see that there are unprotected pieces over here, so maybe that means something. Oh yeah, check here is a move. He has to move the king. I don't have to give him mate. I can just try to fork and get the piece back. So queen takes pawn, king h8. I can play queen b3, and then I'm attacking the bishop. I'm attacking the other bishop. It's a fork. I don't see how he's escaping from this. So I'm assuming that's the right line. I will have like 3 extra pawns probably. So I think that's working very well. So check, he blocks, and then boom, fork, and that's winning for white. Okay, well, white to move here, equal material, I mean, in pieces, but I have like 3 pawns down, so not so equal. Checks, bishop takes h7, right? That's the first move we can see. So yeah, but there's nothing clear, right? He takes, we check, he goes back, and then what? Then what? Nothing clear at that point. So let's assume it's not that check. Also, we don't have other checks. Let's take a look at the captures. We have knight takes knight, he takes with the pawn, nothing happens. We can play rook takes bishop, queen takes rook, nothing happens. So no captures. So let's focus on threats, because I have the feeling it's going to be a threat. So threats, we have like, I don't know, bishop here. So I'm going to work with threats against the enemy king. So the first move threatening things that I can see is queen h5. And he can play one of these 3 moves. Especially f5 looks very annoying. So queen h5, a5, and then he defends. So probably it's not queen h5 either. So which is the move then? It's interesting how this bishop is like trapped. So I'm also looking at something like, I don't know, knight takes knight first to save my knight, which is threatened right now. Knight takes knight, then he takes, and then queen b3, for example, something like this. I don't see how he's saving the bishop, right? So yeah, I will have an extra piece. Of course, he will have like 3 pawns, but well, in any case, that looks tempting. It's not like clearly winning, but I think it's good for white. We will have 2 bishops on the board, better development. His pawn structure is not ideal. He will have an isolated pawn over here. So knight takes knight, pawn takes, queen b3, I get the bishop. That sounds like a solution. So I'm going to play it. Takes, queen, and that's the right idea. Perfect. White to move here, check, queen takes pawn, that's not really getting much. Captures, and then we have knight takes e6 or knight takes g6, which are both very tempting, because if I can sacrifice the piece, for example, here. I can get g6, and those are 2 pawns already, but I have the feeling that I can get the other 2 pawns with checks. So for example, I can get this one with a check at some point, and then I can come back and get the 4th pawn with checks. Also, this one is going to be hanging in many lines. So yeah, I think that's the right idea. So it's going to be a capture either here or here, but we need to find out which one is the right move. So I can see that if I play this, I'm not threatening much, like I'm threatening the exchange, but nothing more than that. So my opponent can play this annoying move, knight b4. And then if I move my queen, he's taking the knight and nothing happens. So this is a little more forcing, right? I'm attacking the queen. That looks a little better. If he takes the knight, then I check, he goes here, then I check, he goes back to g8, then I take with check, and I already have like 3 pawns. I'm getting the 4th pawn here. Probably I can get the one on h5 depending on how he plays. Almost for sure I can get h5. So I mean, 4 pawns for a piece, the king is covered, is very good compensation. So yeah, I'm going to play this knight takes e6, right? Knight e6, knight b4, I take here, he takes my queen, I take, and then in the end I'm getting 1 pawn for free. So yeah, I'm going to play it. So this, he plays knight b4, we said we take, and that's getting at least 1 pawn, so perfect. White to move here, and well, checks, bishop h7 is not really looking very good, right? He takes with the king, so it's not a check. Let's work with captures, and then we have knight takes knight, not getting much. Bishop takes knight, he takes back, there's nothing clear there, he's just improving his queen. Bishop takes h6, it's a move, but well, also our knight is hanging and we're not threatening anything directly. So let's work with threats. And here I'm thinking of something very interesting, like knight g4, because then I'm taking here, but also some ideas over here. So knight g4 looks very annoying. Let's say knight g4, I mean, if he takes the bishop with check, and we mate on h7. So knight g4, let's assume he defends, for example, bishop to e7, which is the most normal move in that situation. Then we can capture here on h6, he takes back, and we capture with the queen. And this is very strong, very powerful, because I'm threatening bishop takes knight and mate on h7, which I don't see how he's stopping. So I'm assuming that's the right continuation. Knight g4, he checks, that's a line that we didn't look at, but well, it doesn't look like especially dangerous. Okay, so let's see. If we capture with the queen, he's taking here. That's not looking fine. If we capture with the king, he's taking here. Again, that's not looking fine. And if we capture with the knight, he's taking here. That's not what we want for our position. So probably the right idea here is king h1, right? Interesting. We have 3 ways to capture, and we don't capture with either. We just move the king, we ignore the bishop, and we continue with our threats here and here. Yeah, so I'm going to play this one. King h1, then he takes the knight, he accepts that he's in trouble and sacrifices the queen, so we just take it, and that's winning for white. So thank you so much guys for watching. Remember, there's a tutorial in my channel about how to play Jobava London with opening and middle game ideas and also masters games. So check it out. If you have any questions, let me know in the comments. I'll be happy to interact. Play the right move. See you on the next.